Good morning. This is PJ. It might be afternoon by the time this uploads. I didn't get it uploaded yesterday, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, good morning. It is Monday, January 30th, 2023. Psalm 37, 1 through 17 is our psalm reading. Ruth chapter 1, verses 1 through 18 is going to be our Old Testament reading, and Philemon 1 through 25 is going to be our New Testament reading. We are going to be reading this out of the Message, and with it being Monday, we are reflecting back on what we heard at church on Sunday. Psalm 37. Don't bother your head with braggarts, or wish you could succeed like the wicked. In no time they'll shiver like grass clippings and wilt like cut flowers in the sun. Get insurance with God and do a good deed. Settle down and stick to your last. Keep company with God. Get in on the best. Open up before God. Keep nothing back. He'll do whatever needs to be done. He'll validate your life in the clear light of day and stamp you with approval at high noon. Quiet down before God. Be prayerful before Him. Don't bother with those who climb the ladder, who elbow their way to the top. Britter your anger, trash your wrath, cool your pipes. It only makes things worse. Before long, the crooks will be bankrupt. God investors will soon own the store. Before you know it, the wicked will have had it. You'll stare at this one famous place and nothing. Down to earth people will move in and take over, relishing a huge bonanza. Bad guys have had it for the good guys, obsessed with doing them in. But God isn't losing any sleep to Him. They're a joke with no punchline. Bullies brandish their swords, pull back on their bows with a flourish. They're out to beat up on the harmless or mug that nice man out walking his dog. A banana peel lands them flat on their face. Slapstick figures in a moral circus. Less is more, and more is less. One righteous will outclass 50 wicked. For the wicked are moral weaklings, but the righteous are God strong. Our Old Testament reading comes from the book of Ruth, chapter 1. Once upon a time, it was back in the day when judges led Israel. There was a famine in the land. A man from Bethlehem in Judah left home to live in the country of Moab. He and his wife had 2 sons. The man's name was Elimelech. His wife's name was Naomi. His sons' names were Mahlon and Chilion, all Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They all went to the country of Moab and settled there. Elimelech died, and Naomi was left, she and her 2 sons. The sons took Moab's wives. The names of the first was Orpah, and the second was Ruth. They lived there in Moab for the next 10 years. But then the 2 brothers, Mahlon and Chilion, died. Now the woman was left without either her young men or her husband. One day she got herself together, she and her 2 daughter-in-laws, to leave the country of Moab and set out for home. She had heard that God had been pleased to visit the people and gave them food. And so she started out from the place she had been living, she and her 2 daughter-in-laws with her, on the road back to the land of Judah. After a short while on the road, Naomi told her 2 daughter-in-laws, "Go back, go home, and live with your mothers, and may God treat you as graciously as you have treated your deceased husbands and me. May God give each of you a new home and a new husband." She kissed them, and they cried openly. They said, "No, we're going to go on with you to your people." But Naomi was firm. "Go back, my dear daughters. Why would you come with me? Do you suppose I still have sons in my womb who could become your future husbands? Go back, dear daughters, on your way, please. I'm too old to get a husband. Why, even if I said there's still hope, and this very night got a man and had sons, can you imagine being satisfied to wait until they were grown? Would you wait that long to get married again? No, dear daughters, this is a bitter pill for me to swallow. More bitter for me than for you. God has dealt me a hard blow." Again, they cried openly. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth embraced her and held on. Naomi said, "Look, your sister-in-law is going back home to live with her own people and gods. Go with her." But Ruth said, "Don't force me to leave you. Don't make me go home. Where you go, I go. Where you live, I'll live. Your people are my people. Your God is my God. Where you die, I'll die. And that's where I'll be buried. So help me God. Not even death itself is going to come between us." When Naomi saw that Ruth had her heart set on going with her, she gave in. And so the two of them traveled on together to Bethlehem. When they arrived in Bethlehem, the whole town was soon buzzing. "Is this really our Naomi?" And after all of this time, our New Testament reading comes from Philemon. "I, Paul, am a prisoner for the sake of Christ. Here, with my brother Timothy, I write this letter to you, Philemon, my good friend and companion in this work. Also to our sister Apphia, and to Archippus, a real trooper, and to the church that meets in your house. God's best to you. Christ's blessing on you. Every time your name comes up in my prayer, I say, 'Oh, thank you, God.' I keep hearing of the love and faith you have for the Master Jesus, which brims over to other believers. And I keep praying that this faith we have in common holds, showing up in the good things that we do, and that people recognize Christ in all of it. Friends, you have no idea how your love makes me feel. Doubly so when I see the hospitality to fellow believers. In line with all of this, I have a favor to ask of you. As Christ's ambassadors, and now a prisoner for him, I wouldn't hesitate to command this if I thought it necessary. But I'd rather make it a personal request. While here in jail, I fathered a child, so to speak, and here he is, hand-carrying this letter. Onesimus. He was useless to you before, but now he's useful to both of us. I'm sending him back to you. But it feels like I'm cutting off my right arm in doing so. I wanted in the worst way to keep him here as your stand-in to help out while I'm in jail for the message. But I didn't want anything to do behind your back, make you do a good deed that you haven't willingly agreed to. Maybe it's all for the best that you lost him for a while. You're getting him back now for good, and no mere slave this time, but a true Christian brother. That's what he was to me. He'll even be more than that to you. So if you consider me a comrade in arms, welcome him back as you would me. If he has damaged anything or owes you anything, chalk it up to my account. This is my personal signature, Paul, and I stand behind it. And I don't need to remind you, do I, that you owe your very life to me. Do me this big favor, friend. You're doing it for Christ, but we'll also do it my heart good. I know you well enough to know you will. You'll probably go far beyond what I have written. And by the way, get a room ready for me. Because of your prayers, I fully expect to be your guest again. Epaphras, my cellmate in the cause of Christ, says hello. Also, my co-workers, Mark, Aristarchus, Demas, and Luke. All the best to you from the Master, Jesus Christ. And here ends our readings for the day. Have a great week.